Brad Stevens has never done this, but could he surprise us? On a new Bleacher Report article, we have an analyst predicting that the Celtics will trade up in the NBA draft to select Kello Ware from Indiana. The big, who is athletic, could be a rim protector, could help out in that depth position at need. But with the Celtics having an abundance of bigs, is this the smart or right move to make ahead of the draft 1 week away? We'll be breaking down all of this and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. If you guys do enjoy the Celtics content, we appreciate you guys smashing that like button. So if you do enjoy this video today, definitely hit that like button. It definitely helps. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the action today. Make sure to grab a snack. And like I mentioned in the introduction, this article proposed by Bleacher Report has the Celtics trading up in the draft, and Brad Stevens has yet to do that as a GM of the Boston Celtics. As we all know, last season we did have a first round pick 25, and he ultimately traded back multiple times in that draft to secure Jordan Walsh at pick 38, who was on the Celtics big board at pick 25, and who they got for a steal of an acquisition, even though he hasn't really developed and gotten as much time with the Celtics squad. But let's dive in and look at this article here, because if we want to look at this one proposed by Zach Buckley, he's got some mock draft with 5 trades in round one, and one of those being the Boston Celtics. Yes, that's right. There's a trade to be announced at pick 24 where the Celtics will trade up from pick 30 to acquire Kello Ware. Now, you may ask, what would be involved in this trade? How would the Celtics be able to get up here? And it would be requiring their 2 picks in this year's draft, the pick 30 and pick number 54, which is our second round selection, and an additional 2026 second round pick via either Minnesota, New Orleans, New York, or Portland. Now, obviously, this would kind of, be up in the air due to its a second round pick, and there's so many protections on it. That's why it has those 5 labeled teams. But this trade would be going to New Orleans. In this, it obviously says that the Celtics, in a perfect world, would like to obviously nab another backup big man with the 30th overall pick. With Zach Edey and Yves Masai, or I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce that name, off the board, though, they might have doubts about a capable center slipping that far. So the Celtics then, get a little impatient, trade up, and they swap out a current and future second round pick for the chance to climb up 6 picks and add Kello Ware, an athletic 7-footer who might become a rim protector running big with a decent 3-point touch. Now, if you guys do not know who Kello Ware is, you may know who his brother is. Kevin Ware, the guy who, had his bone go through his leg for Louisville in the NCAA tournament, where Louisville ended up winning the championship for Kevin Ware that season in 2013. Now, this is obviously his younger brother. He intended Indiana, another red school, but is a talented, big man. So this ultimately gets into the next part of the video, which we're going to be deciding, is this a smart move? Should Brad Stevens be trading up in the draft for the first time ever to select another big? Or should he hold his position at pick 30 or even possibly trade back to get more additional draft capital to help facilitate trades possibly at the trade deadline, similar to how we saw this season with the trades for Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer, sending out Delano Banton and sending out guys in Lamar Stevens, as we got those second round picks additionally from the draft that previous year. If we want to look at Kello Ware's stats, we can see that for Indiana in his 2 seasons, his first year, he averaged around 15 minutes, 6 points per game. But this year took an insane jump, played in 5 less games, but got those minutes doubled, which clearly showed to bring him some productive assignments on both the offensive and defensive side for Indiana this year. Obviously shot 59% from the field, 43% from three, and 63% from the free throw, averaging a double-double at 16 points and 10 rebounds, with 1.5 assists, 2 blocks, and .6 steals. From this screams to me like another athletic freak big who could be a steal in this draft class once again. And he's projected around that, kind of end out of the lottery, but in the middle of the first round from picks like 16 to around 25. And I truly think that if the Boston Celtics were able to get a guy like this at this pick, it would be huge. Ultimately at pick 30 or pick 24, whatever Brad Stevens decides to do, I think a player like Kello Ware could come in and transform and be an impactful piece. Like we broke down, he is a rim protector. He can block shots. He can be a physical presence in the paint alongside Porziņģis, alongside Al Horford. But he also can stretch out to that 3-point line and hit at a pretty decent clip in collegiate ball, jumping his 3-point percentage from, the previous year at around 27% all the way up to around 43% this season, which is a huge increase and would be a big addition for the Boston Celtics. As we all know, from looking at our bigs this year. We can see from Kristaps Porziņģis to Al Horford, even to Luke Kornet, even though he didn't prioritize that three-point shooting. A majority of the Celtics bigs can stretch out and shoot that three-point shot while also being able to block and attack and protect the paint. And ultimately, I think that Kelly Ware kind of fits into that scheme alongside Al Horford, alongside Kristaps Porziņģis, and could be one of those guys who, similarly kind of fit in. But as we all know, this Celtics team has a lot of players on their roster and a lot of guys coming back. If we want to look at their depth chart, we already have an abundance of big men. Like I mentioned, we drafted Jordan Walsh at the power position last season. We signed Neemias Queta from that two-way contract because he improved so well throughout the entire season to a standardized deal. And obviously, we have Luke Kornet and Xavier Tillman, who obviously acquired. Xavier Tillman was acquired at the deadline, and Luke Kornet was obviously playing with this team. Now, if we want to look at the salary cap from this team, we can see that a majority of the Celtics are locked up for next year. The starting five will all be retained, and even though Derrick White and Jayson Tatum are still looking for those extensions, they will necessarily receive them this offseason. I guarantee you, Wick Grusbeck, Brad Stevens, they will get that ink to the paper and get that done for both of those guys. When you look kind of down the list, obviously Luke Kornet you see is a free agent, Suma Hylux you see is a free agent, Xavier Tillman's a free agent. Those are necessarily the only three guys that we could lose. Now, the Celtics do have the bird rights for Xavier Tillman and for Luke Kornet. So if they do want to bring those guys back, they can. I do think that they will. But then that ultimately arises. The question is, do we really necessarily need another big? Would a guy in Kelly Ware, necessarily be needed? If you already have O'Shea Brissett, if he opts into his player option, if you already have Jordan Walsh, if you already have Al Horford, if you already have Kristaps Porziņģis, if you already have Xavier Tillman, you already have Luke Kornet, you already have Neemias Queta. That's what, 7? Now you're adding another guy, 8 guys, 7 to 8 guys in the mix in that front court. Yes, and it's an abundance of players, which is great due to the fact if Al Horford needs some rest in a back-to-back or Kristaps goes down with an injury. But those are all possibilities. And if fully healthy, you could be looking at a scenario where the Celtics are now kind of back where they have guys like Nesmith and Langford who in similar versions are now, clogged in a front court position, not similarly a guard or wing position. And now we have untapped potential guys who aren't realizing their full potential, and then they have to get moved on to fully get to that potential. Ultimately, I don't want that to happen. And who knows? Again, Jordan Walsh, 38th pick, was a second round guy, had to play through the G League and the Summer League. Kelly Ware would be a first round pick. So if he is drafted in the first round, he could come in, be a high impact player for this squad right away, and possibly could even jump some of those guys or even be a replacement for somebody if a guy like Tillman were to leave in free agency, if he were to get a bag, Kornet were to get a free agency to leave in a bag. If one of those options were to arise, then I could definitely see this being a smart move. But ultimately, I do not know what's going to happen. But I would be happy if they did trade up or if they held pat. Because regardless, I think Queta, I think Tillman, I think those guys can blossom. I think those guys can be true backup bigs. But a guy in Kelly Ware, a 7-foot rim protector, who, as we can see, could be a three-point specialist and stretching the floor, I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Boston's scheme, perfect fit for the Boston offense and defense. And at this point, we got to take the best available player. We want the best roster. We want to have the best champion, best possible way to go out there and bring home Banner 19 now that we had that celebration in Boston yesterday for Banner 18. If you guys were there, drop down how you guys were feeling in the comment section. I was there. It was absolutely electric seeing all the fans there. It was absolutely insane. Over 1.5 million people in the city. I got delayed on my train trying to come home. It was a mess, but it was all worth it to see everybody there together, just celebrating in unison to praise Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown for all the hard work and all the effort that they give. But like we said, Brad Stevens is not slowing down. The Celtics are not slowing down, and they want to make improvements for this roster to continue for Banner 19, and this could be one of them. Drop down your thoughts. Do you guys think drafting a guy in Kelly Ware could be that key impact piece and could be that perfect trade for the Boston Celtics? Drop down your thoughts down below. But as you guys know, before we head out, before we say peace, we got to get to the comment of the day, which allows you guys to drop down your thoughts, your predictions, and you can be featured on the comment of the day. And today's comment of the day is from Thor Fungus 5057. This was on our video talking about Derrick White and his number getting revealed for his extension around $31.75 million. And I said that Brad Stevens is going to get it done. And he has to agree, saying that Derrick White is a very critical part for the C's lineup. He plays with effort, hustles, and high basketball IQ on the court. He's very consistent with his shooting and leads the team in blocks as a guard. I would like to see Derrick White extended for a few years. He's under 30. Big Al has at least another year or two left before he rides off into the sunset. Jrue is 34 and should have a couple more years of stellar play in him, and I believe that Derrick White is the third most crucial member of the Celtics starting lineup. Sign that man and let's go for banner 19. And I couldn't agree more. Derrick White was so critical, so impactful for the Celtics' success this season. We saw him come alive in fourth quarters and win his games from his three-point shooting, but also see him get game-sealing blocks and game-winning steals to help the Celtics win and push for this championship in the playoffs. I love Derrick White. He is the true definition of a Boston Celtic and deserved all the praise that him and his dad deserved yesterday. Like I said, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop down your thoughts. How are you guys feeling about this Celtics team now that Banner 18 is finally here? Now that the offseason is upon us, doesn't mean the content is going to stop. We're going to have draft updates, free agency updates, extension updates, everything revolving around this Celtics team. So if you guys enjoy the content here, we appreciate you guys hitting that like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you stay tuned throughout the entire offseason. We'll have live streams coming soon starting next week. I'll have those posted up. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out. I'm Bruce Velez, and go Boston Celtics.